Perfect.
Yeah, just very minimal 40 minutes of technical difficulties. All right, guys, welcome back to the YouTube channel / podcast. I am joined by, again, Mr. Jason Phelps. After the last episode of the podcast, Jason and I were talking about shot placement on elk. And we decided to put together 10 slides of different elk positions and different shot angles. There's some that look like they're downhill, and I've tried to make a couple uphill or whatever, but these are different positions of elk that you might find yourself faced with in the actual mountains or the elk woods or what have you. And we're going to talk about the different shot opportunities, shoot, no shoot, and just kind of what to look out for. So thanks, Jason, for jump back on and running back through this. I think this is going to be really helpful, and this might help a ton of people, including myself.
Yeah, perfect. I love talking about this sort of stuff. So yeah, this is gonna be awesome.
Yeah, agreed, man. I think this is something that a lot of people have kind of trouble with. And like when I sent you those pictures last time, you're like, yeah, I definitely wouldn't shoot that. And I was like, what are you talking about? Why not? And then here we go. So that kind of led into this conversation. And I was like, dude, actually, let me put a slide together and let's just record it and talk through it as a team here, and we can share it with people. So why don't we kind of go through this one? This is we'll call this one number 1, so we can, as we go through the slides here, people can follow along, turn to picture number 1, however we want to do this. But obviously we have a very, very typical, or I would say typical, front leg forward broadside. This is about as broadside as it gets, right?
Yeah, and so one thing I want to point off, right, I always look at like the leg configuration. So this one's got, first thing you notice is it's downhill, but then you've got like the right side legs are in front of the backside. So sometimes you can tell if it's turned just a little bit based on where the legs are at. But this one, you obviously it's walking based on where the legs are at. Typically they won't stand in this configuration. But yeah, it's fairly broadside. It may be quartering away 5 to 10 degrees, just kind of what you can see on the ass, but pretty much broadside, which is perfect. And just looking at the terrain around it, the elk is downhill from us, and standing pretty level and broadside. So first thing that I think about is if I'm going to take this shot, I'm comfortable 20 to 50, on a broadside elk if he's not moving. One thing I do like to consider is shooting downhill. The elk is typically level. Your arrow is going downhill. You're shooting down on it. The arrow is going to continue to fall downhill. So that typically I'll try to, if you need to think about it, you'll enter a little bit higher, is what I'm thinking about. And then you also try to start considering, getting near that vitals. With the leg forward, the upper shoulder blade is a little bit back. So those are just some of the things I'm thinking about before I ever think about settling a pin in this situation.
Okay. I mean, that makes sense. Like we were talking about in the last podcast, when that front leg, that front close leg to you is forward, you are pushing that shoulder blade back towards covering up the vitals just ever so slightly, correct?
Yep. And so I'm going to use a little white marker here if it'll let me draw.
Okay.
Now we're back to a different technical difficulty.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, so one thing that I always like to look at is like, what's the leg configuration? So as Jeff said, when the forward leg is the leg towards you is forward, that typically means that like bone structure is pushed back. And then I'm a terrible artist, but it comes in something like that. That big shoulder blade ties in there. So when the leg's forward, I typically like to aim mid-body, but on something like this, my ideal location, assuming that this bull is fairly broadside, maybe slightly quartered away, I'm going to go straight up. That back leg is where I want my exit to be, but that will also kind of set up my shot location on this side. So if you're looking where that red's at, like that's my ideal location. I'm going to stay just a little bit below halfway up on this bull because I know I've got a little bit of heavy bone above it. So we're maybe on a neutral leg shot where the leg's not forward, I would maybe go up a couple more inches in the same location. On this shot, I'm going to probably cut 2 inches off and try to hit a little bit lower.
Okay, that makes sense, man. And with the slightly downhill, that doesn't change that you're still aiming a little bit low here?
I mean, that's still going to work. I'm more worried. So the arrow is going to exit lower on the offside than where you hit.
Yeah.
But I'm more concerned about the heavy bone on my front side. So regardless of, like, let's say we wanted that arrow to exit at that elevation, if I move up to account for that, I'm now getting closer to that bone. So what I'm looking at is, if I'm going to take this shot, I'll probably cut a little bit on the front side, knowing that on the back side, I'm probably going to be an inch or two lower than that, but it's still going to be okay. This gives me like the most conservative risk, or most like conservative approach, like risk adverse. If you were more comfortable, see, a lot of guys will look at this and wouldn't want to go any farther back, but like, I'm okay hitting it anywhere in like this triangle. I wouldn't be like opposed. So if you needed more neutral room, like, I would come back in the middle of that triangle, knowing that you're still going to exit 2 to 3 inches behind the leg on the offside. So you're still in very, very good shape here. So I would hit, anywhere in that triangle, and then just give myself that 2 to 3 inch, that buffer from that heavy bone.
Okay, that makes sense. How high up on that body do the lungs go roughly?
So I always try to imagine, if you put the back straps in there, you've got the spine that kind of cradles those back straps, both the vertical and the horizontal portion, as you cut those out. Like, I imagine that bone structure is through there. The bone is probably running somewhere through there. So the upper end of my triangle is getting very close to no man's land or a non-vital shot. So, to be more realistic, I would probably keep it in like that green chunk is still pretty safe.
Got it. Okay.
I'd probably stay away from that top point on that. And so this is a great shot. Like I said, anywhere from 20 to 50 yards, like, very, very confident in this shot. You're always looking at the offside leg, looking at, downhill, uphill. But yeah, this is a great shot. And one of my, most preferred shots out of all of them is that broadside, slightly quartering away type shot. Gives you a ton of room. Now, I will say, if I could, create a perfect scenario, I would like to straighten up both legs so the thing's not in its walking position, or it doesn't have its lead leg out front. Like that would be a better situation.
So just get his attention really quick while you're at full draw, and then let it go as soon as that leg comes down.
Yeah. That's always iffy. And I've made good calls to stop an elk, and I made some bad calls to stop an elk. And I'm fairly neutral on that now. As far as, do I think he's going to stop? If he's not alarmed, he most likely will stop and turn on and look for the cow again. And like I said, usually when they stop, they will re-neutralize their legs, unless they're in some uneven terrain. They're not going to. This is a walking position. He's most likely not going to stop in a position like this. They can, but usually they'll balance up, level up, and straighten everything out while they're not walking.
Got it, man. All right, so this is a for sure shoot.
Yep.
All right.
Sending something. Ideally, I'd like him to stop, but not the end of the world.
All right, moving on to number 2. Gonna be a little bit trickier, but let's jump into this one.
So yeah, this is a frontal shot. Like I say, I'm not going to tell you how close you need to be. We're not going to talk about that. I'm going to talk more about where I'd want to hit this bull.
Okay.
And so you always hear people, first thing I'm going to identify on this elk is color change. Well, I don't know about you guys, but that to me is like the line of color change, right?
Yeah.
I don't see anywhere else we would call that. Is way, way, way too low. If we come around to the side and try to put a line on where halfway up the bull is, like, the widest part of the elk, which is typically halfway up the elk, maybe slightly below, but just for reference sake is halfway up the elk, you are way down into like the bottom of the heart country, and you're getting into some very, very heavy bone that is on plane with the way your arrow's got to travel. So what do I mean is, like, you've got a big slab of bone that you've got to try to send an arrow all the way through, not just like through the face of it, but through the lengthways of it. And so it's very, very dangerous. And there's not a lot that can kill an elk down there, especially with the broadhead. If you have a gun, you can start to bust bone and do some stuff different. But with a bow, you really don't want to play in that country. So when you take, let's leave my line on the side of him as reference in there. And this bull's perfectly straight on. I want to be in this 4 by, and excuse my drawing, somewhere in that 4x6. Gets us up away from the bone, and you can even maybe bump that up a little bit. And this is where I talk about, thankfully this bull is downhill from us. I'm still going to assume that bull is downhill from us. So we'll be fine because that arrow is going to continue to drop as we go in. But if a bull was coming downhill towards us, so the elk is uphill walking down, that has to move. That square that I just drew needs to move up its body. So now you're getting into like chin, throat area, because if you imagine like lifting this elk's ass up and his head down, the vitals are now like moving spots. So you got to go higher and higher. Otherwise, you're just going to come out his belly or lower than you want. So I personally have had great success with this shot. It stems a lot from me doing my own calling, early on as a bow hunter when I didn't have anybody to go with me, anybody to call for me. I did a lot of this, quote unquote, on my own. And this is how an elk typically approaches. I've got some tips and tricks nowadays to not keep the wind as perfect, to maybe make them start that circle and get wind on you, which will present you with a little more broadside shot. But this shot is very, very deadly. It will have an animal expire very, very quickly. But there is a lot of it's a very polarizing shot, between people that are archers, people that will never take it, people that love it. It's very effective if done right. And I just like to be able to know whatever distance I'm at, that I guarantee that arrow lands within a 4-inch wide by about a 6-inch tall zone. And so you're really trying to hit heart-lung intersection here, because you're not going to catch both lungs per se with this shot. If you're off to either side, you're going to catch one lung, when then that elk's going to live for a long, long time. But what I think the best takeaway is for on a frontal is throw out whoever says color change, because that's terrible information. And think of, if you were to walk, if you could move yourself, like pause time, move yourself to the side 90 degrees, figure out where that horizontal line is, which is where my red line is on the outside of the elk, halfway up the body, and then set that 4x6 at the top of that, and then that 4x6 kind of creates itself. You will have to modify that based on if the elk's coming uphill or downhill.
I can picture it. Your horizontal line in the podcast, I couldn't really picture it, but now that you have these two indicators there, I totally get what you're saying. If you're trying to smash the end of the dead center of the lungs, that's where you're outside. Oh, I can draw too. That's where this comes in. This line here comes in, is that middle of the elk. And if that's where you're going to try to shoot it with the lungs, look where that blue line is when I'm drawing it across, trying to get into there from the front.
Yep. And that's where, if that elk has his head down at all,
that's where it becomes tricky.
You start to flirt with, the bottom of the jaw and his head being in the way.
Yeah.
And I referenced that hunt that I did with Ranella on season 10 when we're in New Mexico. The reason we don't show the shot is because I was so laser focused on where the vitals were and where I needed that arrow to go in. As he's walking downhill, the elk's kind of bobbing his head.
Yeah.
And I was just focusing on squeeze. Where do I need to aim? And as he bobbed his head into the arrow, I actually went through like the lower part of the cheek, like throat area. Mm-hmm. So it looked, and the fletchings looks like he got shot in the face, which the arrow is really close to the face, but that elk died within 5 seconds.
Wow.
So very effective. It doesn't look ethical, but really is on how quick he expired.
Yeah.
But the result just was where the arrow went in, where the veins were literally sticking out of the side of his mouth. It looked like it just wasn't a good look.
Gotcha.
But I was laser focused on vitals, trying to figure out where his body was, and as they're coming downhill, if it's not like, nothing's flat and paved, right? It's not like a perfect grade. Yeah. He's bouncing off a rock. So at times his body would drop 8 inches and then he'd step for a couple. So I was just trying to really just hone in on where I needed the arrow to hit, and works really, really well. Just if a bull's facing too far up the hill, it becomes tough, because your arrow, the steeper this hill is, the lower you got to get to that big heavy bone, right? Because his vitals start to drop as he's walking up the hill. So his ass end goes down. The steeper the hill is, the lower your arrow needs to go to hit vitals. And so at some point, if it's a steep enough uphill, the frontal kind of goes away, because you got to bring your arrow down so low. If you hit in this red square on a very, very steep, you got to imagine that arrow could potentially go out the back of his neck, because it's so steep. And so that's where frontals, in my opinion, it needs to be on somewhat flat terrain. You can have a little bit of up and a little bit of down, but you put too much of the bull coming uphill and you shooting downhill becomes a no-no. You have the bull, if you're below the bull and he's walking downhill to you, at some point your arrows are going to get up into his face, high in the throat, and then it becomes a tough shot as well. So that's why 15-20% grades, it's good, but when you start to get any elevation into it, I start to like turn off frontal shots.
Yeah, that makes sense, man. I mean, this is a very everyone wants to talk about frontals and ethical, and it's one of those that if you're calling in the woods, you're going to be faced with this opportunity eventually.
Yeah, and so I'm gonna not to take away from this being a shot selection, but one of the ways you can remedy this to some degree, if you have two callers, so we always heard get the wind in your face, right? Straight on.
Mm-hmm.
Well, this is what creates this, because if you set up too good of a situation for yourself, that elk doesn't know whether to start circling you to the left or the right to get wind on you. Because we've all been here where you're calling in a bull, he gets to 70, 80, 100, maybe 60 yards. At some point, he tries to get wind and smell the elk that's calling to him. It happens almost every time.
Okay.
Almost always they will choose the direction that's going to get them downwind from the calling elk the soonest. So by getting the wind hitting you perfectly on the nose, that elk's like, shoot, I don't know if I go left or right, and he'll continue to walk in straight on a path of least resistance. He doesn't. Now, let's say you get that wind to hit yourself on the right cheek a little bit. So just a little bit. Let's say 45 degrees. It's hitting you on the right cheek now, not the ear, not the nose. I can now, with very, very good certainty, predict that bull is going to start to circle me to the left. Now, if I'm the caller, that might happen a little far out there. But we can deal with that. As that bull starts to circle, we'll be prepared. We've got our shooting lanes. Now you add a second caller and somebody that's calling for you, put the caller out front and to the left. So go forward 30 yards and to the left 30 yards. When that bull starts to make his circle on you, the caller, because he has no idea that shooter's there, you start to now pull that bull broadside to that guy or gal, the shooter, at a shooting range. And so now you've taken that bull from a frontal to a broadside by using the wind to help you do that, like as a steering wheel.
Yeah.
So that's a little tip that kind of a hot tip that we try to employ if somebody's not comfortable with the frontal, or if we're just trying to give a different experience for the camera or whatever.
Yeah.
We just don't get the wind as perfect. I still use vegetation terrain to kind of set me up, but if I can add that in as a factor, we'll definitely try to get the wind to put him in a spot for us.
Makes total sense, man. Love it. All right, number 3, kind of another one that's, I'll just let you take it away. What do you see here?
So this elk we have standing legs straight, right? Mm-hmm. He's not walking.
He's locked up.
I use instantly, I look at the space between his legs and it lets me know he's quartered to at a 25, 30 degree angle, right? He's not quite at a 45. He's somewhere between broadside and a 45. If he was 45, he's maybe getting close, maybe 35 degrees. This is a very, very tough shot with a bow. Could you squeeze one in and catch? Potentially.
Let me put my mark on, and you tell me what the potential is of if I took this shot where I'm going to mark it. So if I'm looking at this in my unexperience, just legitimately unexperienced shooting elk with a bow, I would try to punch it close to that shoulder, like right in this area right here. What is my risk right here?
So on the backside, you're probably going to come out. There, which is probably what about there on the elk. Yep. You know what I mean? I'm just trying to say, like, that's where the arrow's probably coming out on the backside of the elk, maybe a touch
on the
back.
Offside shot. Yep.
So you're somewhere in here. So I honestly think you're going to catch both lungs there. My only concern is you don't have a whole lot of. If you go to the left, you're hitting bone, and if you go to the right, you're only going to catch maybe one lung and gut or one lung and liver.
Yeah.
And you run into trouble. Now, if you're a good enough shot, if you're Levi Morgan, Matt Schmitz, Bodie Turner, any of these guys, and you know that your arrow is going to hit that shot will work. In the heat of the moment, adrenaline going. I'm hopefully reading the elk at this point. Like Does he know we're here?
Yeah.
These other things that are separate from shot selection need to be, is this bull, has he been coming in? Did we just sneak in on him? Like, what is he doing? Does he know we're here? Can I let him take a step or two and give me a better opportunity? Is this my only chance? And I try to never let that like creep into the decision. Like, is it a good shot or a bad shot? But a lot of times these other things creep in. Like, is this do or die? Like, is this going to be my only chance? And then we're going to have to go hunt this bull down. Shouldn't affect it, but I'm not going to lie, it does creep in. But I think if you can go up there and hit within, if this is a 20-yard shot, you're probably fine.
Okay.
He's quartered to enough that if you had to go in front of bone structure, not a great shot. A lot of bone, and you would come out right on the backside of that leg. It's real iffy and just not quite enough vitals.
Yeah.
Your blue shot's good, but you better be able to hit within an inch or two of that. If you hit 2 or 3 inches to the left, you're going to smash to a giant bone. You hit 2 or 3 inches to the right of that, you're going to catch gut, liver, maybe a lung, maybe just the backside of the front lung, and it just makes me worried. So can be done. I'm hoping that there's like more opportunity ahead on the next step or something.
So in this position right here, not saying you're going to let it unfold anymore. In this position, are you letting it go or are you not shooting?
It's easy to say when I'm sitting here at a computer.
Yeah.
I'm not shooting. I want to say sitting here at my computer, I'm not shooting. I'm going to wait for him to take a step. I'm reading a lot into this picture. He's coming from my right to my left. I'm hoping he's going to continue to my left a little bit and give me a more of a broadside shot, or maybe he looks like he's on just a little bit of a knob. If he walks to the left and starts to maybe head down that knob, things are going to get a whole lot better with only adding on a yard or two. So this one, I mean, you could definitely kill this elk. I've been on situations where the shot's been taken and we've ended up cutting up an elk, an hour later.
Yeah.
It can work. There is just a higher risk on this shot than the first two.
Okay, so takeaway from number 3 here, guys. We're on number 3. This one, just pay attention to the legs and kind of the angle. If you can see, I like your initial run through when you said take a look at these legs, and that tells you what you need to know.
Yep. Yeah, kind of the quarter. You can't really see the rump at all, just a little bit of blonde streak. So that just lets you know he's turned. You can almost see the full nose pad, and his head's kind of in line. Now, the nose is a little bit tricky because you can turn his head, not be in alignment with the body, but just looking like he's showing me more of his right side and less of his left side, with the ass and then his front shoulder. You're kind of seeing around the mane there a little bit. And then his legs tied in lets you know he's at that 25 to 35 degree quarter two.
Got it, man. Okay, moving on to number 4. We kind of got to me, this is an absolute no-brainer, and I would say shoot. And Jason, I'll just continue it. Guys, we're on number 4. I would say anywhere within right about here is where I would want to put it, and that would end up being a dead elk. Am I wrong?
Yep. So my only constructive criticism to that is we've got right leg forward again.
Okay.
And so I'm concerned that bone may be running through your top right corner. So I would agree with the rest of your shape. I would just probably cut that out and just aim for this section down here.
Okay.
Would be my one concern.
Are we concerned about that elbow being back like that? If you hit that, what's happening to that elk?
Oh boy, this opens up for all the critics, but I think on a big boy setup, shooting a good head, I can bust through everything but that T-bone and the scapula, right?
Okay.
That I can even bust through any of the flat parts of the scapula. It's only when you tie the scapula in to the vertical reinforcement behind it, right? Yep. That's what is going to mess me up. I'm not too worried about leg bones. With that said, I think we talked about it on the last podcast. My main goal is to get that arrow out the other side. So if I can avoid any bone besides a rib or two, I'm trying to. I'm not worried about that, but so if I was to draw like a perfect shape, I'd probably would stay away from your bottom right leg bone. I would do something like that. Just give myself a little more space, but anywhere in there, that elk is done and done pretty quickly.
Okay. So, man, like that circle just seems so far back. Is that just how big the lungs, and then you hit that liver too? Like you're just playing safe, avoiding the scapula, the elbow, the shoulder. Like you just like to come back a little bit farther. I see that.
Yeah, and my vertical line that's kind of further back, that's
Yeah.
still going to catch lung. And if you look at his opposite side leg, it is
Yep.
back just a little bit. You can kind of tell by the,
Yep.
he's walking.
Sure.
That is, if he moved his, and that's why I'm that far back. If he moved his leg forward and was in a more neutral stance, and that offside leg went forward 2 or 3 feet, inches,
Yeah.
I'm still coming out perfectly behind it. So I'm always looking at that offside shoulder, like where do I got to be, perfectly vertical and come out there. And so this is a great, a perfect shot, with that 10 to 15 degree angled away.
Perfect. So number 4, absolute no-brainer. We're shooting.
Yep.
All right. Moving on. This one to me initially is an absolute no. I'm not shooting this. I don't think I'm a good enough archer to try to sneak one, and you're gonna hit that rump. Like, that is just so profound. And if I tried to sneak one in there, I'm not shooting in the neck. What does your initial gut tell you here to go on this one?
Yeah, you're gonna have to pass here. I'm trying to visualize where the opposite side front leg is. So if we just draw it in there, that's like the back side, and maybe the front side was over here.
Yep.
Like, to get out that back side is here. Well, then I'm missing any vitals on the front side. I'm coming out, like, in order to catch and do this right, you would want to put the arrow right there to catch the back, maybe a little more to the left now that I'm looking at it.
Yeah. But isn't that going to get hung up in rump meat? Like, that's some thick ass meat back there. You think you're crushing right through it?
The meat, I'm gonna say your arrow wouldn't get hung up in the meat, but I'm not using that to justify this as a good shot. So let's just say I have no doubt that my arrow would zip through this portion. I start to doubt that my arrow can catch multiple lungs and do this right without me missing something. The way that this is with it, the margin of error is so tight here. I would avoid this shot. I can't really tell what that offside front leg is. Even if I could, it kind of gets thrown out the window. Like, putting the arrow to come out behind it no longer makes sense because you miss all vitals.
Yeah.
So you're actually now trying to come out probably in front of that leg. And this is just a real bad angle. It's probably, if the head wasn't turned, you wouldn't hardly be able to see. So here's one thing. I think it's like an optical illusion. Like, if we take that bull's head from beagling to the left and just like straighn it out, like turn it back to the right,
100%.
You don't see a whole lot of this elk at all anymore.
No,
like, it becomes very skinny.
Yeah.
And so this sounds terrible, but I'm just going to give facts. I don't want this to be taken and used the wrong way, but I have confidence if I was to loose an arrow here at 20, 30 yards, I have an 80% chance of killing this elk. With that said, I have a 0% chance I would take this shot.
Okay.
If that makes any sense. Yes. I don't want it to be like an open invitation to be like, oh, I could probably kill it at this angle. Let's do it. But I don't think if you were to the left of my little kidney bean, the more I look at this, my little kidney bean logo, like right in here.
Yep.
You're probably going to catch back of left lung, front of right lung, and kill this elk. There's more to it than just getting an arrow in an animal. And I'm assuming the bull's beagling. He's not alerted. We're gonna get it probably a better shot somewhere here. Now I say that, and this is the dang elk that walks straight away from me down into those quakies. Yeah. But I'm hoping on this one, not shooting. I'm gonna wait for a better shot. I might be at full draw right now.
Yeah.
Waiting for a better shot, but no shot here.
No shot. Number 5, no shot. All right, moving on. This is the one. If you don't remember, Jason, this is the one we talked about in the podcast. When I tried to remove the background with AI on Lightroom, it took the antlers with them. So this is a good bull. It's not a cow, guys. We're shooting this thing if we do have a shot. But all right, go ahead and take us away on this one. Number 6, guys.
So his leg is pretty straightforward. So that scapula is actually right there. This is a tough one because I think I remember this bull peeking around a tree.
Yep.
And it was I think it gave me a little more detail. If we're assuming this bull's as broadside as it looks right now, I don't have a problem putting an arrow, especially if it's close, in tight to there.
Okay.
I think you're going to come out in front of the midline point on the other side. So you're going to catch front lung, you're going to catch back lung, and you're pretty good. And that's one thing I drew on one of the elk. I don't remember if it was number 1 or number 2, or when it was perfectly broadside. Like I try to draw a line halfway back the elk, and then that way I know if my arrow comes out in front of that, we're pretty good at catching at lungs. And we always got to keep in mind the lungs are longer down the elk along the backbone, and then it kind of, they get smaller as they get towards the chest. So yeah, I think if we're in here and the bull is as broadside as he appears in this picture, you're going to have to hold fairly tight to the leg bone. So on a 20-30 yard shot, I have no problem. 40, I'm going to start to get a little concerned, and I'm probably not shooting this much more than 40 because I do have to hold it fairly tight to that shoulder bone.
Gotcha.
And I don't want to drift 2 or 3 inches into it.
I remember in this one, why I took them all the way over to the left is because the tree was right there where we stopped losing visual. So you do have, realistically, what is that? 8 inches from the tree here to the scapula to the shoulder there.
Yeah,
I mean,
and this scapula is actually pretty vertical here because his leg is straight up and down, so it's real similar to that red line. Yeah, and you've got that 8 inches horizontal from right to left, but you start to hit too much farther than like this line, and your exit point is now moving back farther than I want.
I see.
So that's why I'm trying to keep it real tight to that leg bone and not let my exit point drift away past that midline.
Gotcha. Is everything on this side just an absolute no-go? Like you don't try to, because if you tried to angle it, I would imagine if you came through in the middle here, you're not touching lung on the other side, are you?
It's not a no-go. There's definitely stuff that will kill it. Like if I had a rifle, I know we're not talking rifle, but let's say I had a rifle.
Yeah.
Like I'm okay with smashing all the way over into here. Like anywhere in this square is now good. Like I'm just gonna, even if I had to, and with a rifle, a lot of times I try to break the bull down so he doesn't run away. I mean, so if I can hit this leg bone and hit heart, lung, behind it, it is good. Now with a bow, you just have to stay to the left of that vertical red line I drew earlier.
Yep.
Just because you got bone structure there, but there is good stuff behind there. It's just going to be tough to get through there with a bow, repetitively and make sure it gets enough penetration to hit everything back there.
I got it. So number 6, you're shooting.
Yeah, with this picture, I was a little more hesitant. Maybe the picture when he was coming around the aspen there was a little different. This, like I said, assuming he's fairly broadside, I can't see the opposite side leg. It looks like it got maybe taken out.
It did. Yeah, it looks like it did.
And I remember this bull being turned a little bit more, but I think even on the last one, I think we can get an arrow in here and be fine and be in front of that half body length line.
All righty, I get it. You're shooting number 6. All right, moving on to number 7. Number 7.
Yeah, I love this shot. You give me a good quartering away shot. It gives you don't got such of you don't have such a layout here. You got a little tighter area, but like that spot right there, somewhere between those two lines, and even like a little more vertical, like anywhere in here is money. Now people will say, you just said you draw a halfway line. Like, all right, this is going in on the halfway line, and I know at the angle my arrow is going at a 45. If I touch that halfway line,
that's
like everything right out the ahead of it's
shoulder.
Good. Yeah, and everything in front of that line's good. So I'm going right to the back of the lungs. I know every inch my arrow goes into that elk, I'm going forward an inch, right? At a 45 degree, you're getting the 1-for-1.
Yep.
So every time my arrow is going in, I'm gaining an inch forward. So that arrow is going to climb to the front of the chest cavity real quick.
That makes sense. And you can clearly see that the shoulder is kind of like that. Where does that leg bone go from there? Does that kick back, or what does that do from that?
So yeah, it'll have a little bit of a 90 to it. So it's you can actually see he's actually got it kind of out forward and stiff legged.
Yep.
Which means so this is kind of counterintuitive. Front legs forward, scapula bends backwards. That front leg's back, scapula goes forward like into its neck.
Okay.
Yep. We've all been there. Hopefully we've all been there, like skinning an elk, right? And when we get to that front shoulder, it's just kind of held in there by some like just a membrane, right? And it moves freely. And as we're getting, we're lifting the leg up to cut, it's literally just sinew and some muscle that connects it. That thing, as the leg goes back, the shoulder goes forward. And as the leg goes forward, that shoulder goes back. It's moving. I don't want to put a number to it. It's moving 20 inches, from at its extremes, from front leg to back. It's on a, it's basically a big lever arm. You move the foot, you move that hoof an inch or two, and that thing up top moves more than that. So it's swinging back and forth. And with this thing looking stiff-legged, front leg, maybe it might be out, it might be slightly forward, but I'm just going to assume that it's going to bend up in that fashion.
So you think on this particular shot, how big is our kill zone realistically inch-wise on this bull? So would you say that that's about fair? Everything within that is dead?
You will. On the opposite side at a 45, my only concern, and this would be my cautionary line I'm going to draw in pink.
Okay.
If I was in front or on this line or in front, I'm now coming out in front of that off leg. I think you still kill the bull. You still catch the front of the off lung. I just get worried that I'm now pushing too far forward, like up into that, in front of the leg, into that like offside neck. I think you still catch lung, but that's where I would rather just be on that first that I drew, and then trying to stay in that square.
Yeah,
just a little bit farther.
So
forward.
Realistically, you got a lot more vertical like area than you do horizontal in a quartering away.
Yeah, it's pretty good. You got a lot of that lung to play with. Like I said, I'm the guy that likes to hit an elk mid body, slightly below. So from that half point to the third point is kind of that band I like to play in. High lung kills an elk really, really fast. It gives you a little more conservative approach left to right, but they do not bleed on a high lung shot because
that's the downside.
Yeah, you have to fill up that entire lung cavity, the entire
before it starts spewing out.
Yeah. It's a pressure. It's simple pressure, right?
Yeah.
And
yeah.
So you put the hole lower on the elk, it spills out a whole lot higher than if you put the hole higher on the elk.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, that's my reason to try avoiding high lung. I have hit there. They expire really quick, but I usually play, like I say, half to a third, if those are those two lines, the half being the top, the third, like if I can hit anywhere in between there, I'm good.
I like it, man. So number 7, absolutely shooting.
Yep.
All righty, here we go. Number 8. This one to me is probably a no shot. I think this is really tough. If I had to, and you don't ever have to, like I would say I would try to, I don't know, is it stupid to try to sneak it in like right here, or you're not going to catch this lung then?
Yeah, this one, it's a no shooter no matter what. I can't even. There's no good way here. Like I said, if we were rifle hunting, and it was close and in the timber, why is my marker's not working no more?
If it's a rifle, you're crunching him right in that leg again.
Yeah, my writing is not working.
Of course not.
What just happened there?
We almost made it. I wonder if there's some kind of allowance that I have to do. Oh, did you just? Yeah, you just made one.
Oh, am I writing again?
Yeah.
That must have, what the heck? Was that on the last elk though? See, it's weird. It's like letting me do the redo and undo button, but not write new again like we were.
Weird. Just drop and rejoin, and I'll edit this part out.
Okay. Too. All right, we'll drop. I'm out. Come back.
Okay.
Oh my goodness, this is maddening. Can you hear me?
I can.
All right, we're back.
I don't see you though. Turn your visual back on.
Let me see if I can draw. Oh,
yeah, you can draw, and I can see you again. We're good to go.
Perfect. All's good.
All right, back at it, guys. Number 8. To me, this one's just really tough. I don't think. I think I would try. I don't want to get this taken out again. If I had to guess, Jason, I'll say that I would go, about right where your X is, and try to sneak an arrow in there. But what's happening if you try to sneak an arrow in that area?
You're actually now that scapula's there, and you're trying to run it long ways, which is the absolute worst recommendation. So now instead of going through the side of the scapula, you're trying to run lengthwise. And let's say blade orientation is wrong. As you hit there, like it's going to deflect. It's not going to have any penetration. Between our two dots there, like my red X or up, like with a rifle.
Yeah.
I would, we're not talking about rifles, but like that would be my shot.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm just not taking the shot with a bow. No distance, no. He quarters. If he quarters 2 more, and I can get like a longitudinal, like through the body, and get some vitals, I would do it. But nothing with a bow here for me at any range.
Let's just say for effort, if you can see the crease of that leg going up there, if you're behind that, let's just say for yellow, if you tried to place an arrow here. Are you even hitting that right side lung and completely hitting gut, or are you even going to clip that right lung?
Your arrow on the back side is going to come out here on the opposite side in the crease on the back side if you draw a straight line up from its leg, right?
Yep.
So you're going to come out in that crease, and you're not going to catch offside lung. That's too tight of an angle. And so now you've got a 1 lung bull. I don't think you could catch your and this is a very crappy consolation prize. Your best luck would be to hit this bull in the liver, somewhere in here. If you actually wanted to kill it, guts and liver would kill the bull better than 1 lung. But I'm just not shooting. We could argue this one for a while or debate it, but nothing good's going to come out of that shot there.
Okay. So, and what's your indication when you're squaring him up? Like, other than just clearly looking at that shoulder, do his legs in this position tell you a story as well?
Yeah, I mean, he's turned more than 45. You look at the distance between the back legs. Front legs he planted them kind of tight, which sometimes lets me know he's on alert. Like, just seeing the posture of this elk, for no other reason. I'm reading a lot into this, but like, when they put their front legs that close together, like I'm a little worried that he's seen something. They kind of get straight up and look.
Okay. And ears forward too, like he's on something.
Yeah, he's looking at something, makes me nervous. Get ready to shoot if he happens to turn and not like whirl, but just turn and walk away. He may turn and walk down that hill the way he's looking. He's just turned over 45 degrees, and it's no good shot opportunities here. Okay.
Number 8, no shoot.
Yep.
All right. That's a big X on number 8 here.
Yeah.
Okay, number 9, folks. This one is the one I tried to make uphill, if you can't tell. In the actual picture before I moved the background and brought him in here, he was slightly uphill. So let's just say you can tell he's uphill because his left leg, like that butt cheek, is kind of underneath that right one. So for devil's advocate, I didn't do a great job on the copy-paste orientation, but Jason, let's say he is slightly uphill from us.
Yeah, so uphill, I'm always going to hit. I'm going to start to cut an inch or 2 off of where I want to hit, depending on how steep it is. If he's really steep, I'm going to start to hit him more. I'm not in the belly, but like it starts my entrance starts to roll down the belly. So you hit here, you're going to come out here. You hit here, you're going to come out here. You start to play with those entrance and exits. But yeah, if this bull's, for conversation's sake, above me, I'm going to we talk about that halfway up the body, a third of the way up the body. I'm probably going to lean more towards that third point. And so this one's easy. If his leg looks like it joins right there, so I draw a line up, I'm going to put that at that third point, knowing that it's probably going to come out the half point on the opposite side. So shooting uphill, I'm aiming at this third point right there. And, that's where my arrow is going to hit.
Okay. And you think you're safe from all of that front leg? I know that even to me, just with my uneducated stuff, again, like this leg looks like that shoulder is going to kind of move back this way. I would want to try to put it like here. Is that too high? Am I flirting with some dangerous stuff going that high on an uphill shot there?
It depends on how steep it is. If it's very steep, this is all just made up. But depending on how steep it is, like your arrow could move 2, 3, 4 inch vertical, going up the hill. And so you wouldn't want your arrow to come up there. Now, if it's just slightly uphill and your arrow came out here or here, you'd be fine. But I'm always trying to imagine like where I think my arrow is going to come out of the backside. And I just don't want that thing to be that high. And so that's where on this one, rather than go at the halfway point where I normally do about where your arrow is, your entrance, I would just drop to my third point, knowing that that's a safe location. That I would come out, halfway up or slightly above halfway, depending on how steep.
Okay.
So it's just trying to give me like the most conservative approach. I don't have any major bones in my way. I can very easily go in, right there, and be fine.
And he's in trouble.
Yeah.
How big is have you guys ever taken it out or open it up and look exactly how big your kill shot is on an elk? I've heard like 12 by 18 or 12 by 16. What is that rule of thumb?
Yeah, I mean, when you add liver and guts into it, which technically are all kill shots, but we shouldn't strive for 2 of those. In my opinion, it should be lung or heart are 2 ways to kill an elk and what connects them. Telling on myself a little bit, I had held, back in 2016, I had held my bow for a long time as a bull came in. He got to about 14 or 15 yards and whirled, never gave me a good shot. So I decided I was going to be good and not take one. I had to let my bow down after 2 minutes, whirled, and I was still pretty fatigued when I got my bow back. Pretty similar shot here, quartered away uphill, and evidently couldn't hold my bow after 2 minutes and was real shaky. And my arrow went in about, I gotta get my pin here. My arrow went in about here. That will kill an elk extremely fast because you got a femoral artery there. But once again, liver, guts, and femoral artery are not spots that you want to take advantage of. Will kill an elk really fast. But like on this shot, for instance, if I was just draw, like I feel like your kill zone on this is something, in that nature. With doubling up everything, it's obviously bigger if he's perfectly broadside, but facing away, you get any farther back, you're going to miss a lung and only catch the opposite side. You get any lower, you're getting into like just bottom of the heart territory. Any higher, you've got shoulder blade. So, I don't like to reduce it to a size because I feel like it's always an irregular shape, but it's somewhere. I've always said you always have a 10-inch circle, as long as it's not a very tight quartered to or quartering away shot.
Yeah.
If anything's close to broadside, you've got a 10-inch pie plate to work with.
That makes sense, man. So number 9, absolute shooter.
Yep. Quartered away. Everything looks good. Like I say, uphill, I'm going to shade a little bit lower on my entry point, knowing that that arrow is going to keep climbing on its way up.
Is that just kind of a rule of thumb as well, as if you're shooting uphill, you're going to favor a little bit lower. If you're shooting downhill, you're going to favor a little bit higher. Is that a general rule? Yeah,
you're trying to, figure out where your arrow is going to hit, go through, give yourself the most conservative approach. So yeah, uphill, it's just my rule of thumb. You're shooting downhill, I'm going to start to aim just a little bit higher because the way the arrow is going to travel, where the vitals are going to sit. The elk is typically still pretty level. They can be uphill, downhill, but if they're broadside, they're going to be standing fairly level. And so you just want to take that into account, your arrow's path through the animal. And the steeper it gets, the more it matters.
Got it, man. Understood. All right, guys, last one, number 10. To me, this looks like a pretty good one. He's not really looking at us. That offside leg, though, is really back. Does that have anything to do with this?
No, as long as you put a little thought into it and you don't draw your line up, like we always talk about drawing that, you got to recognize that it's back. So if we were to like do this and intersect with vitals, you're like, oh, I could probably, on that backside, if I hit this animal right here, he's done. Yeah, the arrow looks like it will come out in front of the leg, but really it's going to just hit that where that backside leg normally would be without it being back. So I know I just drew a lot of lines on there, but hopefully that makes sense. Like if you draw that line up the back leg to about the line, that third to halfway point that I want to hit, I can send an arrow through there, no problem. And it's going to come out the backside right behind the leg like we want to, or where it should.
Yeah. Okay. That makes sense. How much are you never, it's really hard to tell, but we're never nervous about hitting ribs, right? Especially with good equipment and in today's technology, you're going to bust through a rib if you square it up.
Yeah, my only concern that I ever think about ribs, and I try to deal with that in the off season, is I like a cut-on contact head. And this is maybe the engineer in me, but it's how I think. Let's say you do take, similar to this, a 45-degree quartered away elk. I like this shot, but I always imagine if that broadhead blade, because the trajectory the arrow is on, it's easy to draw, right? It's going to go through on a straight line. But we now kick a blade out that, let's say, is at 30 degrees, out to the side. Every broadhead I've ever seen makes some sort of a triangle look. What if that blade is out to the right and it lines up perfectly on a rib as you're trying to send an arrow through at an angle? Well, now those things are almost 30 degrees plus a 45 degree. Imagine your blade is perfectly flush with a rib bone almost. Like there's no, and that will give you, in my opinion, a major deflection if things don't continue on the path that they want. And so my biggest concern was always me shooting at something on this one exactly, me catching a blade just in the perfect orientation and my arrow wanting to veer off to the left before it gets going through the animal.
Makes sense.
Some of these reasons are why people prefer heavy FOC. It's the broadheads pulling the rest of the arrow through. Some of these things can offset. It's just always been my concern. And I do shoot a cut on contact, which I feel like you get going through the hide, you get going through a little bit of the meat that's over the ribs, the rib meat, it starts to get it on a path and maybe can bust through that. But that's my one concern, whether I've got control over it or not. I just try to shoot a head that, will get through there, break the bone, or slice through the bone and continue on its path that I want it to.
Yeah. Oh, man, I think this one, to me, honestly gives me a little bit of anxiety just because I feel like that other side leg there, like you said, I got to change my color. It's a little too yellow. That other side, that offside leg coming down like that, and you've always said, like, you want it to pass through. I don't want to hit that other side and then get caught in the other side of the leg. And we don't have a lot of room to be in the aft of that. So if I tried to go, like, to play devil's advocate, you're on that inside of that line. If I was over here, am I even hitting the left side lung at this point? This is too far back, right?
Yeah, and that's why we always try to draw that halfway along the elk line. If you were to, let's say, if we were able to stop time and move to our left a little bit, like just spin the whole thing, and now we're broadside to the elk, your arrow is going in past the halfway mark, which starts to concern me.
Okay.
You are gaining, maybe 3/4 of an inch for every inch the arrow goes in, because you're not quite 45, or you might be 45 here. You are gaining ground, but if you miss that and kind of follow that along, it worries me. So my red dot being in front of the line, it will potentially this may be an arrow that holds up on the offside leg, the offside scapula, the offside bone. But you can't always have like a perfect scenario where my arrow is going to get through. So I don't have any problem taking the shot, knowing that I hit everything I need to kill the elk. I just might not get my second hole out the other side. And this is another debate I have with guys that I know really well, Corey Miller, guys that shoot elk and maybe nerd out on the function that kills the elk, is like, there's something to be said for an arrow that either breaks off or stays in there, and that broadhead continues to do work.
Keeps cutting
as that elk
runs.
It's still cutting stuff on all directions that elk runs around. And so if it's in a good spot, like we've always debated, some of our better blood trails has had an arrow in there just, or a broadhead in there just continuing to chew stuff up as that animal runs off.
Yeah, I mean, that makes a lot of sense, man. And I think I'm with you, though. Like, I'd much prefer it to go blast through the other side, and then you have two holes, you have two leaking, wounds. I do hear people a lot like, I like it when it, buries fletching deep and it's still in there cutting around as he moves his legs and he's bouncing. Like, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. He's going to have a lot of damage continuously, cutting him on the inside. But I think I would rather have it blast through and have those two gaping wounds.
Yep. No, that's ideal. But like I say, there's the ideal situation, and then what we're presented with, in a hunting situation.
Let's see if we can get a bonus. Oh, there's a bonus. That's a video.
Oh, this one's easy.
That's an easy one. Can we write on those two?
So here's your 12 by 18. Oh, you just made me look like I'm going to hit him in the ass. Oh. Yeah, this one's the easy one. This might be where your 12 by 18 comes in, because you probably have something about like that to kill this elk with.
Okay, so this is picture perfect broadside, and you
Yeah,
can.
and you got room to the bottom. I actually do that pretty high, so you've got additional area. Might come back something like that, but
Give us a change your color to black and give me your best educated guess on how that bone, that leg bone and scapula sits, because I want to see it from your
so
perspective.
it, if you pay attention, you can kind of see there's a crease here, which is where it leg, and then you can see there's a little dimple right here,
Yep.
which is where the pivot is, and then this bone is likely coming back in this situation, something, and then you've got some bone here. You've got something like that.
Oh wow.
And this is fat through here. This is not, but this was just me trying to trace. Like I
Yeah.
know that scapula is coming into here somewhere, and then it joins up with the bone. This piece up front is definitely fat, but like, and it may come in there. But that's kind of.
But behind all of that is vitals, right?
Yeah, I would.
Or do the lungs actually start kind of right behind that
Like,
leg?
I would say there's vitals from their back.
Okay.
You know, so there are lungs there, but you know, this thing is gonna be sitting up here, you know, in some triangular form, and then it joins in here with the leg bone. But yeah, there are vitals back there. It's just with a broadhead, you just want to stay away. And then I've always, if we go back to red for vitals, like we've all, if we've had the luxury of like breaking an animal down, like I can start to see like the back strap shelf right there. Like you have to start it in the back, but I imagine that everything above there is spine and meat.
Yep.
If not a little bit lower.
Yep.
You know, you draw your horizontal line about in the middle of that elk. So you know, I would say from this pocket, you're getting close to the leg bone, like anywhere. I'm not getting too close to those lines, but like anywhere in here is probably a dead elk. And I would maybe, if I had to stay away from an area, stay away from like this bottom right corner. So everything inside that circle that's left is like, is all going to be really good.
Okay.
Maybe stay away from the top of it. It's making me nervous. I would just do that naturally, but it's worth talking about. So like anything in there, pretty good shot. No risk of bone. This one's super easy because the elk is close and it's perfectly broadside.
I like it, man. Let's see if we can get one more bonus here, and
Okay.
we can. Oh, that was a video. Here we go. Okay. How about we go? How about we go with that?
Oh,
What are you doing? He's coming in screaming. He's the absolute monster. It's the last day. You're at full draw. He's 22 yards. What are you doing here?
I feel like I'm getting opened up for like a lot of people to say like, can you believe he said he would do that? Like
That's what I'm doing. I'm going for an Instagram reel, TikTok soundbite of Jason sounding like a moron, and I'm just gonna blast it to everywhere.
so, like, oh, I'm gonna get like I could a guy could kill an elk. A guy or gal with a big enough setup would kill an elk right there.
Okay.
You're going in front of any bone. You're going down below that scapula. You're coming out way back in his other side. Like that will kill an elk. Now I'm going to put a big giant asterisk all the way around that answer. I don't know if it's the best shot to take. I'm gonna send you a picture here.
Okay.
And this might create more issues for me than I want, but I'm gonna do it just in full transparency. I don't know if you can get this onto your screen fast enough.
I can.
But this is a very similar situation, and it is going to open me up because I did kill a bull with this exact shot in 2014. Albeit, in my defense, the bull is at 5.5 yards at the point I let the arrow go. He's turning. We're in a bunch of. No, you're good. So this is a bull we called in. He was very, very close. As you can see, I do have a giant head, so it always looks big, but that elk is relatively large in this picture, and the arrow's already in the bull in this picture, so you can see my bow, my strings back to normal. Excellent follow through by me. It still looks like I'm shooting, but the arrow's already gone. That's the only time I'll ever say that. But yeah, this arrow is in this bull, and some people may say, well, man, he's awful he's not quartered to enough. He's, too quartered to. I knew about, I was watching the bone structure kind of as this thing and knew this and kind of watching how his leg moved. And then as soon as he put that leg forward on that last step, I squeezed it off. The thing I do and don't like about this is that this arrow, I thought this arrow would come out about mid body to just slightly behind mid body on the opposite side. So I would catch the front lung, kind of bury it through the opposite one. This arrow did connect both lungs, but I did have a weird deflection in there. I don't know if he moved his leg forward like as the arrow was finishing up going by or what happened, but this arrow actually goes in, catches both lungs, and then it ended up turning lengthwise and went straight down the elk and was like poking out a hind. And so this bull, he sprints for about 5 seconds. We hear him pile up, and we, just the Stevie Wonder blood trail we talk. It coats your pants, it coats everything that you have on, getting there. But he lived for about 5 seconds, ran about 60-yard sprint, and just I can remember this bull's horns were just buried in the dirt because he died at full speed, and so it's just head, everything. Died very, very, very quickly. We can argue over this, but almost identical to the shot you were talking about at the angle. So I want to be transparent. Probably opening myself up to a bunch of people saying I take dumb shots, but this killed this elk very quickly, and it's a similar angle. Just its head's different, but if you were to go
very similar angle,
if you were to go right in here, right behind that color change, these manes are in different states, so this is more of a summer. And he's beagling, but he's definitely got more of that orange mange versus that one. Seems like it fades back. But anywhere right in there, I think you're going to be okay. And it's going to come out about the same spot my arrow should have. And you would be good. But there's going to be a lot of controversy over whether you should take that shot or not.
Man, I'm going to be honest. I think if yours died that fast and it was that good of a shot and you hit vitals, like in this picture here, let's just take yours out here for confusion really quick and delete this one. With this one here, I really think that there's a shot to be made there, like you were talking about. If you go right at the color change and try to put it, you still wrap your arrow around to that middle part of the body here, right? And you try to go right in there. I feel like you can make that shot at a decent distance, and if he's standing there bugling just like that, he has no idea where you're at. I think that's a decent shot to take.
Yeah, close range, if you're confident you can get it in there, not go too much higher, definitely don't want to go too much lower, definitely don't want to go left, don't want to go too much right because you're going to come out too early.
Mm-hmm. If you go too much to the right, you're not going to hit this lung at all, right? Like if you were going here.
Yeah, you'll miss the front lung. You're going to have a one-lunged elk. Maybe not catch any of the heart-lung connection and have a heck of a tracking job on your hand. So that's why you need to start inching back to the left to catch the front edge of that, what would be the elk's right lung, the lung facing towards you, to catch part of that. But like I say, this isn't like my easy cop-out on this, but like guys out in the woods you're the only one that can make the decision. You're the only one that can judge whether it's ethical to you or not. You're the only one that can make all these decisions. I'm not saying I should have more shots available to me because of experience, but I grew up around a bunch of butchers. I grew up in a meat shop. I grew up helping with hundreds of elk. Kind of being a nerd about it, like when we'd gut something, like, well, did it hit the lungs? How did that hit there and there? And as you're skinning it out, like, well, that entered here. That bullet, trying to like do a forensic autopsy, like, well, how'd that bullet go from this one? And there's the exit, or this one entered and it didn't come out. Asking the shooter, like, well, how many times did you shoot? Which way was it facing? Just I was over the top interested in this stuff. And I feel like as the elk's walking in, I sometimes look at the horns, I sometimes look at the body, but like it's just a walking set of vitals to me at that point with something that protects it. So it's like, here's the vitals, here's what I got to get to, here's the bone structure around it. How do I connect these dots? Is the risk too high? Is the risk too low? Should I wait? Should I not? What's the elk doing? And that's kind of, I look at it that way.
It makes sense, man, and that's how you kill them. So picturing the vitals at all times as they walk through and kind of manipulate their bodies through the brush or around trees or how they approach you. I think that's a very important way to look at it when you're in that mode. When you're just viewing them, yeah, sure, you don't need to. But when they're coming in and you're at full draw, I think picturing vitals at all times and paying attention to legs. Like, I've learned a lot here in this last hour on kind of paying attention to legs, the quartering distances or quartering angles, and then that mid-body line is, I mean, dude, there's a lot to learn there, and this is the perfect time to be going over things like this. It is literally August 28th, and I'm sure, doesn't Idaho open on the 30th or something?
Yeah, I think Idaho, Oregon are both August openers this year. I think Oregon opens Saturday, which I think squeezes into August. Maybe not.
It does, yeah.
But yeah, they're Idaho and Oregon are right around the corner. I think both have August openers.
Yep, I like it, man. It's awesome.
Yeah.
I think that's it for us, man. I think we went through some bonus ones. So I think we went to 13 different shot positions and opportunities and kind of different ideas on where you think you should put an arrow.
Yeah, no, I love this stuff. I always tell Dirk, like, I like this sometimes more than talking about elk calls and stuff. It's just like, how to efficiently, effectively kill these things is fun to talk about. And I always love the where would you hit, the red dot, green dot, yellow dot. Like those are some of my favorite conversations. And maybe just because I like to argue with people so I can tell people why they're wrong or right is my favorite part. But no, we have a lot of fun with it. And yeah, there's good shots, there's bad shots, there's iffy shots, and as long as you know the risks that are associated with it, hopefully, people make the right decision or be a little more patient, or maybe I shouldn't say this, but maybe hurry their shot up if that's their time. Like,
yeah,
I always talk all the time about controlled shots or like letting the shot, and I'm like, no, if I need to out in the woods, like, I'm a trigger puncher for a reason. Like, I can force a shot, I can make a shot and have control over it. Because there are times where I've got a second or two to decide if I'm going to slip an arrow in there, and I need to make the bow go off, and not follow through like my shooting out in the driveway is. So there's a lot to it, especially when you're archery hunting, and just think about all of these things. Visualize the vitals, where your arrow is going to go in, where it's going to go out, and what's in between those two holes, and good things will happen.
I love it, man. Well, thanks again, Jason. Appreciate it. Good luck out there in September. It's right around the corner, the best month of the year. And I just got to say, I'm really excited for September. I am 8 days away from leaving for Utah. So I appreciate you. Selfishly, I wanted to go through this with you after we talked about it last week. And I was like, man, I want to do that again, but on video and go through a lot of these. So I think our presentation looks pretty cool, and I think people are going to enjoy this and take a lot of it away. So appreciate it, man. Thanks again, and good luck this September.
Yeah, you too. Can't wait to see how you do there in Utah.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it.
Yep, take care.
You too, man.